Holy crap, dude. We're really cartoons.
Yeah, man. I said I would do it. I did it.
Well, you don't like to brag at all, do you? All right, guys, so we finally made it to the promised land of the U.S. of A. And we're cartoons.
Yep, we finally made it to the Americas, Mike.
All right, Dylan, so when did we make it, and how do you know?
In 1695, there's this cool court case that happens in Virginia, at that time an English colony, of course, and it involves this woman named Joan Scott. And Joan Scott is likely the first Roma, or probably a Romani Chal from the UK, who is charged with sort of this weird rule about she has relations with a person of color and she's not supposed to. And so she gets charged with this strange rule, and we get a court document where she actually gets out of it because she claims that she is a gypsy and therefore can't be judged on the same grounds as the English people that are living in the colonies at that point.
Okay, so you're saying the first gypsy recorded in America was in 1695, and we know that because they were recorded as a prostitute. Can we just skip right past that and talk about when the Eastern Europeans got here, my people? Come on, man. Let's brighten up the mood somehow.
Well, Mike, we don't know for sure what her occupation was. We definitely know that she was targeted because of the situation she was in. Long story short, all we know for sure is that she gets out of that, which is good on her. So the rest of the Eastern Europeans really come around the end of the 19th century, so around the 1870s all the way to the 1890s. And they show up basically because there's this huge population explosion that happens in Eastern Europe and throughout Europe, really, where you get a lot more technologies for food advancement, for more crops being grown, things like that, which happen around the same time in the United States. But the difference is in Europe, there's a lot of people and not as many resources. Again, the old country, right? A lot of people, not a lot of resources, been around for a long time. So a lot of people end up moving west to the New World or the United States. And what happens is Roma come along with those people. So a lot of Eastern Europeans show up alongside other Roma. And we do get examples of this at the same period that all these Eastern Europeans are coming. We do get some actual visual examples, so pictures, a couple videos, things like that, and documentation where they're starting to be noticed as slightly different than their Eastern European counterparts that the Americans are finding out about, and as something that they're slowly seeing as, oh, these must be what we know of as gypsies. So long story short, they show up a little bit later, 1870s to about the 1920s. You get this large push of Eastern Europeans that come in.
Has anyone ever told you you're really boring? There's kids watching. They're falling asleep right now, or switch to another video. The gypsies came to Ellis Island in 1870. Something like that, man. Liven it up.
So, of course, Roma show up in the greatest city in the United States, New York City, and they end up on Ellis Island, like many of the other immigrants that are coming at this point. So they end up in Ellis Island, and we have these great photos from this guy named Augustus F. Sherman, and he has these photos of Roma coming to the United States, ending up on Ellis Island. Some of them end up coming into the country, but there's also a weird period where a lot of people are being deported or turned around just because of who they are. So we do see right away that some people recognize that Roma are the people that are kind of persecuted in Europe, and so they end up turning them away anyways here in the United States, some of them at least, but many of them still make it through.
So besides New York, where else did Eastern European Roma end up?
You're right. I mean, New York, we do all love it, and it is your hometown. So all over the Americas, really, though, Mike. I mean, they make it from Ellis Island, and they travel everywhere. So you've got different parts of the country which end up being sort of known to be different hotspots of Roma activity. So all over the United States, really, West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, all over, and including bordering countries. So Mexico and Canada have Roma, and they've had them for a long time, especially places like Mexico, Central and South America even too, because some of those Roma came over with the Spanish conquerors back in the 16th, 17th century. So they've been there a long time.
All right. We get it. We started out in New York, ended up everywhere, just like everywhere else. So I'm a little scared to ask, but How did we fare out treatment-wise? Did America like us at all?
Yeah, that's always the hard thing, right? Well, I mean, Roma do get lucky in the United States in the sense they're not really known or targeted like they are in Europe. I mean, I just said they kind of were, but at the same time, it's not to the same degree for sure. Probably because the U.S. was already dealing with massive influxes of immigrants from all over the world. So at the same time, really, too. So we kind of just kept off their radar, and we were fine with that. We made it by. Even today, most people don't really know there's a long history of Roma communities within the United States, and when that knowledge does become public, it's often based on fear-mongering and old stereotypes. Hence, there's that classic case that I love in 2015 where we had the beginning of the quote-unquote gypsy apocalypse with Roma coming to America. This is where good old Tucker Carlson gets his panties kind of in a bunch because evidently poor gypsies really scare some white dudes.
Yeah, man, I saw that too. He was showing videos of little kids shitting in the street and asking if maybe that's a sign of aggression towards American culture and how they don't want to fit in, and it may even be terrorism. I mean, if shitting in the street is a sign of terrorism, we got to set up a whole base of Department of Homeland Security around Las Vegas, because they be doing a lot of that there. And they seem to be very patriotic Americans. Very questionable stuff.
On a serious note, though, many Roma who are actively being persecuted in Europe today are still trying to seek asylum in the United States, and some have attempted to flee their countries because of such violence. There's classic cases from the early 2000s and even beyond, even today, where a lot of Roma families have been caught up in the immigration system and enforcement efforts, including the youngest person in U.S. detention for a while, which was a very, very young Roma baby who was separated from his family.
Yeah, we know, Dalen. Sad stuff all the time, and you love talking about it. But if there is a dead horse that we should be kicking, it's what we've been talking about throughout all of these episodes. See, gypsies, Roma, Tsigan, Chinkane, whatever you call them, all of us have one thing in common. That desire for a country of our own, because we don't feel like we belong in any of the countries that we're in. They don't really want us there. Even today, they're doing protests to kick us out. But they can't. They don't have anywhere to kick us out to. Because as we've shown through these episodes, we're part of those countries before they even got their names. If you're looking for what countries do gypsies have to go to, it's the one your ancestors are coming from. Wherever your parents or grandparents are born, guess what? We've helped make their history. Roma in every European country and every North American country. Basically, almost every country in the world. We're citizens of the freaking world, guys. So be proud. And it's about time that we take ownership of that history and pride in that history ourselves. So for the next episodes, we're going to skip just the history lessons and go into conversations with people that are making our history be recorded today. People that are trying to make a difference and give us a voice that we haven't really had throughout the centuries or millennia. Join us, and please like, subscribe, share, comment, and tell us who you would want us to talk to, what kind of things you want to see, what kind of things would inspire you to be proud to be a gypsy. See you later. Until next time, believe in dragons. They do exist. I keep telling people they exist.
And please, when you see a video that is by Michael Churaru and Dalen Butler, it's about Roma history, and please watch it and subscribe. Bye. So you're out.